Hi, welcome to Anna Prime Recap. Your city is being attacked by a horde of zombie fish with metal legs, which exhale the smell of death. We are in the anime Gyo, Tokyo Fish Attack, by the master Junji Ito. A young woman, named Kaori, and her friends are in Okinawa for a vacation trip when, upon arriving at the house where they will be staying, they smell a terrible odor, as if there was a human corpse rotting inside. Minutes later, they are surprised by a bizarre creature that was running and hiding around the house. The monster hides behind the closet in the living room and Kaori pushes the furniture with all her strength, crushing it and killing it, or at least she thought so. Then the friends realize that it is a fish with metal legs and he is responsible for giving off that horrible smell. Kaori then gets rid of the animal and the three of them go to sleep. The next day, everything seems normal, until Erika is attacked by a giant shark that invades her bedroom window. Hearing the girl scream, her friends runs to see what was going on. Kaori manages to help Erika get rid of that monster. But now the creature is chasing the three young women, who hide in another room. The shark breaks down the door and goes to Erika again, who ends up getting injured. Kaori throws a chair at the monster to attract its attention. The creature finally takes its focus off Erika and runs towards Kaori. The girl dodges and the shark falls through the window. Kaori goes to check if he's still alive and, looking outside, she comes across the scariest scene of her life. Thousands of fish running towards the city. In the news, everything that is said is about the invasion taking place on the islands of Okinawa. The fish took over the entire region. The military go the streets to try to contain the situation, but clearly everything is out of control. But things can still get worse. Kaori receives a call from her fiancé, Tadashi, in which he asks her not to return to Tokyo. Apparently, the city had already been taken, too. While he is standing in traffic talking to Kaori, he sees a strange movement and gets out of the car to find out what was going on. At that moment, Tadashi suffers an attack and the girl is no longer able to communicate with him. Immediately, she decides to leave for Tokyo to find out what happened to her fiancé, leaving Erika and Aki behind. On the plane, on the way to Tokyo, Kaori meets a young videographer, named Shirakawa, who is on his way to the city to find out more about the strange phenomenon. During the flight, Kaori falls asleep, and when she wakes up, she sees that the passengers are terrified. The girl looks out the window and her suspicions are confirmed. Zombie fish are all over Tokyo. As the airstrip was also taken over by those creatures, they had a serious accident at the moment of landing. Despite this, both managed to escape the plane unharmed and make their way to the train station. Shirakawa discovers that Tadashi's uncle is the scientist responsible for conducting research into that weird event. He then decides to team up with Kaori, hoping to get an interview with Mr. Koyanagi. But without mentioning any of that, Shirakawa offers to accompany the girl in her search for her fiancé. During the train journey, the conductor notices the presence of something strange on the tracks. Soon after, Shirakawa and Kaori suffer the second accident of the day. However, this one was even more serious. Most of the passengers were dead or seriously injured. With the help of the videographer, Kaori manages to get off the train and back to the station. Meanwhile, her friends remained at the summer house. Erika says she's not feeling well and Aki goes after her to find out what the problem is. When opening the bedroom door, Aki smells the same stench that the fish that attacked them exhaled. And when approaching Erika, what she sees after moving the blanket left her paralyzed. Erika is completely disfigured and Aki soon realizes that this is a result of the injury caused by that shark that almost killed her. When the girl looks at her reflection in the mirror, she is startled by her own appearance. She screams in terror and starts releasing death gases from her mouth. Erika asks for Aki's help, but the young woman, scared, tries to run away. When she goes down the stairs, her foot is pierced by one of the zombie fish. She keeps trying to escape, but is stopped by Erika. Aki then reveals her true feelings for her friend, who has always looked down on her and made fun of her appearance. Aki kicks the green monster in the face and Erika attacks her back. The girl takes an ashtray that is on the table and hits it several times on the monster's head. At that moment, Aki finally takes out all her anger towards Erika. In Tokyo, Shirakawa and Kaori continued their search for Tadashi. When leaving the train station, they see that the city is suffering a true apocalypse. Kaori slips into a huge blood puddle. She looks around and sees dozens of shattered bodies. Shirakawa is chased by the zombie shark and Kaori helps him escape. Just when they think they are safe, another one of those creatures appears and attacks the girl. Shirakawa manages to save her, but Kaori gets a scratch on her arm. Will she have the same fate as Erika? They then depart towards Odaiba, where Tadashi is supposed to be. There they find dozens of military dressed in suits to protect themselves against biological risk. The soldiers prevent the young people from heading towards the island. Despite all her efforts, Kaori is unable to pass. The girl is desperate. Shirakawa tries to calm her down and the two go to the guy's apartment. Meanwhile, chaos continues to spread. In the news, you only see despair. Every minute, more creatures spread through the city. The streets are taken over by criminals. Desperate people invade supermarkets, grocery stores, and the army can no longer contain the invasion. While watching the news, Shirakawa and Kaori come across an interview given by Tadashi's uncle. With this clue in hand, they go after the scientist in hopes of discovering the man's situation. After searching the house for her fiancé, the girl finds Mr. Koyanagi lab. Shirakawa searches the computer and finds a video of the scientist, who was also infected and, as a result, had to rip his own arm off. This is definitely bizarre. The guy's arm turned into a zombie fish. In the recording, he explains that those creatures are the result of a bacteria that was developed during World War II to be a biological weapon. The idea was filed after scientists realized that animals infected by that microorganism, which produced excessive gas within the host's body, soon became unable to move. But the Japanese army had the brilliant idea to continue the studies and developed a machine that allowed infected animals to move around using the pressure of the gas that the bacteria released. The rumor was that they had built several of these machines, and while trying to transport them, the ship was bombed by American troops and all that equipment had sunk. After all this history, the video ends with Tadashi lying on the ground. Kaori is scared and runs to the basement, where the recording was made. Shirakawa ends up staying behind. Obviously, he couldn't pass up the opportunity to save a copy of that video. Soon after, he appears, very suspiciously, with a bunch of keys and manages to open the basement. Inside, a terrible stench. When Kaori looks ahead, she can't believe her eyes. Her lover is trapped in a machine that her own uncle built. Like Erika, Tadashi was all green and looked disgusting. Kaori begs him to answer her, but Tadashi is no longer in a position to think for himself. Then Mr. Koyanagi appears and informs Kaori that Tadashi was infected, so he took advantage of the situation to carry out his studies on his nephew and prove his theory. Tadashi has a breakdown and attacks his uncle, severely injuring him. Then he runs away and Kaori goes after him. Shirakawa stays behind and helps Mr. Koyanagi to go to another secret lab. When asked why he was doing all that, the scientist replies that he just wants to find out the truth. But what happened to Aki? After fleeing the summer house, she walked the streets of Okinawa, where soldiers were trying to fight off zombies. Suddenly, the fish began to explode due to the excessive gas and the infected humans took over their skeletons. Aki then finds Erika. The monster was releasing a foul, rotten fog all over the city. Erika teams up with the zombie skeleton and starts chasing the girl. When trying to escape, she falls into a crevasse infested with thousands of zombie fish. While being attacked by those creatures, Aki begged for help from her friend who didn't even recognize her anymore. That was the tragic end of another of Kaori's friends. Still on the streets of Tokyo, Kaori continues to search for Tadashi when she sees a soldier shooting at one of the creatures, and then she approaches him, thinking that he could be her fiancé. But both she and the soldier had no idea what was to come. A pile of infected humans that formed a giant zombie. The soldier starts shooting and is brutally killed. That gas creates life and starts sucking in another infected human, which is then incorporated into that structure through its tentacles. Kaori, without reaction, can only observe the whole dark situation. Shirakawa is still looking for the young woman and finds a circus tent spread out in the middle of the city. He enters the tent and is faced with a bizarre situation. A show is going on made by an infected human who, by using the gas to blow the flames, makes psychedelic-colored faces appear. Not to mention the presenter who, by himself, causes goosebumps. The guy is completely insane. Moving on to the second performance, the main attraction is none other than Tadashi, who is being pulled by 4 men. Kaori arrives shortly thereafter and just like that, Tadashi manages to escape. Outside the circus, they encountered hundreds of zombies. The girl asks her fiancé to come home with her. He even tries to follow her, but is stopped by the other creatures, who join together to attack him. Kaori faces all that horde of monsters and tries to get to Tadashi, but is stopped, and while trying to help her, Shirakawa ends up being wounded in the arm. It was all unbelievable. Away elsewhere, Shirakawa reads the news and informs Kaori that the survivors are trying to leave the country. Their mission now is to convince the girl to take the ship and leave Japan. The city is still taken. Kaori and Shirakawa go to the coast shore and there he shows that he is infected. Therefore, he will not be able to accompany her. He also reveals the real reason for having helped her in the search for her fiancé and asks for forgiveness for not being honest from the beginning. Apparently, the scratch on her girl's arm was not caused by a zombie that attacked her, so she isn't contaminated by the bacteria. Kaori then takes the boat and heads towards the ship. It is not yet known if there is any safe place to survive on the planet. All major metropolises have already been invaded and the world is increasingly being taken over by the creatures. The story ends with Kaori leaving along with the other survivors of that apocalypse. In the midst of all this chaos, what would her strategy be to survive the attack of the zombie fish? So what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.